Right, good morning, welcome back. Okay, now today's task involves refitting the front and top engine mounts, torquing everything into place, refitting the ignition and the exhaust system so I can run the engine. Now you'd think that's a pretty straightforward task, maybe an hour at the most, but this is a 20-year-old corroded bike, so it's never that straightforward. So let's see how we get on. Right, the first task of the day is to remove this frozen nut off the end of the stud that goes into the cylinder head. This stud faces forward into the direction of travel, so it's got all the weather on it and it's just corroded and frozen in place. So that's the first thing, because that might take some time. Get that off of the end of there nice and safely so I can actually use it, because I haven't bought a new one yet. I will do, but I'm going to use this one for now. Right, this nut on the left hand side of the frame, you can only access it from the side. So you can't get a socket on in the normal way to torque it up. You need an attachment for your torque wrench called a crow's foot. I'm sure you've seen them. They're just basically a little short, stumpy 2-inch open end spanner with a square drive in it. And you attach it to your torque wrench and then you can torque up the nut from the side when you've only got that access. The torque setting on this is 25 to 30 foot-pounds. It's quite low, so I'm mindful of that, and I'm just going to nip it up by hand today. And it doesn't matter long term because the motor itself is coming out of the frame, because I'm going to paint the motor, I'm going to paint the frame, in fact I'm going to modify the frame. Lots of work to do, and that isn't permanent today. It's just for now so I can heat cycle it and get it running. But just be mindful, 25 to 30 foot-pounds. Don't overdo it when you do it up by hand, because if you crack that stud going into the frame, you're in a world of hurt. Right now, as I've already said right at the beginning of this is a full project. I'm starting with the frame up, but the 1200 conversion was the first thing I wanted to do so that when it's done and I've run the engine, I can pull it out of the frame and set it over there to one side and come back to it later and start with the frame on the bench as you should do. Right. So what I'm about to do now, before anyone gets wide-eyed and aghast, is fit the standard factory exhaust back on, complete with its crack in the link pipe. It doesn't matter. It's going back on along with the silencers, so it's nice and quiet, so I can run the engine up and heat cycle it and hear the engine rather than just booming pipes. I think that's a sensible thing to do. Then once it's done, I'll take that exhaust off, stack it back in the corner, and I'll build myself a nice exhaust later on, don't worry. But for now, I'm just putting the factory one back in place so I can run it up. Right, okay, that's all the hardware installed. The next job is to take the carburetor, put it onto the spigot mount, connect everything up, put the battery on, put the tank on, chuck some fuel in, turn the key and start the engine for the first time. But unfortunately this carb is still in 883 mode and it won't work with the 1200, so it needs to be upgraded to 1200 spec. I've got a Dynajet Thunderslide kit to install into it, so we'll bring you that next as a dedicated video, which we hope you'll enjoy. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Take it easy, ride safe. Join us for the next one and we'll sort the carb out.